You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly.
Welcome to the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. This is the podcast that lets you know all of the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre. Each week, our team discusses news and events from this past week, as well as previewing the week ahead, covering Mexico-based promotions and top independents, along with luchador-related news from throughout the United States. The Lucha Central Weekly Podcast is part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network on luchacentral.com. This podcast and others from the network are also available on all podcast platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbase Speaker, you name it, it is on there. I'm Miranda Morales, one of the co-hosts of the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast, and I am part of a fabulous team that brings you all of the lucha news that you need to know. So first, I'm going to bring in the dashing one, Mr. Dusty Murphy. Dusty, how's it going today?
It's going great. How's it going for you, Miranda?
It is going well. It is fall. It is crisp in the air.
Yeah.
Lovely time of year. So, I'm a happy camper. And well, since I'm so happy, we might as well just bring in our third co-host. Well, who?
Who?
Who am I talking about?
Who?
It is Brendan Barr. Brendan, how are you doing? How's it going?
Hey, I see how it is. You bring me in when you're feeling in a good mood. Does this mean I have to look out if you're ever upset?
Well, everyone should look out if ever upset.
That's fair.
Can't be a hangry. I definitely have been accused of being hangry at times. Made by food in moods. So, yes. No, everyone should watch out if I am hangry or angry. But right. No, I mentioned it's a lovely time of year. It is fall, and Halloween is coming up in just a few days. It is one of my favorite holidays of the year. Is that the same for you guys?
Yeah, it's my favorite. I love Halloween.
It didn't used to be, and then I had one of those. I think everybody has one of those friends, but it was her favorite time all year. She insisted we come over to her house, and she wouldn't let us in the front door unless we were wearing a costume. And leaving also wasn't a choice, so there was costumes for everybody. And after like 3 or 4 years of that, I really got in the mood. I got excited to do Halloween because it just got to be a little more fun. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys must then have a favorite Halloween costume that you've worn. I mean, many of us as kids, and even as we got into adulthood, dressed up for Halloween. It is one of the best parts about Halloween. I remember the search for Halloween costumes even being excitement.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But everyone usually has a favorite, costume that they've worn. I'm very curious as to do you guys have some throughout the years?
I was Fred Flintstone last year. I really liked that one. I've always been a big fan of the Flintstones, and I finally have the beard to kind of follow it up and be Fred Flintstone now, so it worked, and
Nice.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Did you make the costume or did you purchase it?
No, I purchased it. Somebody made it. I mean, it was very nice, but I didn't make it.
No, I hear you. I'm definitely one that never makes costumes. I always buy mine.
Yeah.
One of my favorites of all time. I went through very big phases as a kid, like more of a tomboy phase to girl phase. One of my favorite costumes I ever wore, this was very big in the 90s, was Ghostface from Scream.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember getting a machete and I had some fake blood that I put on my little machete too. So that made me different from all of the other ghost face that were running around school, because there was multiples that I actually had a machete.
Everybody had one of those masks.
So I have to ask now, I know this is poking into the future a little bit, but did you get excited when you saw Ghost Mask on an event this week?
Yes. Gosh, I'm just if I could dedicate this whole episode to this Halloween Havoc, I would.
Yeah, it was so good.
I delete this whole rundown and be like, I don't care whatever happens in the world of wrestling. We are just dedicating this episode to Halloween Havoc. Yes, and it reminded me of that. It's just one of those masks, one of those timeless masks. It's synonymous with horror movies. It just, I don't know. It was just very fun. What about you, Brendan? Any kind of like memorable Halloween costumes?
So I'm a little sad that 2020 went down the way it did, because I had made a bunch of friends this year that were that are makers, like people who make the outfits for the luchadors and other wrestlers, and I was like,
cool.
Right. So I had plans at the beginning of the year, like I can start doing designs and I can send some back and forth, and then everything didn't happen. So this was going to be my first big year. Most years before this, I've done really low-key costumes, and my favorite one was because of the response. Was just this super low-key costume. A friend of mine gave me the idea. I just wore black pants, a black shirt, and I painted a black 8 on my forehead. And when people would ask me what I would say I was the Magic 8 Ball. Ask me a question.
That was pretty good.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Lots of signs point to maybe, and I'm unclear. Ask me later. But I had fun with that one. I just I want to do something with a little more production value before it's late, right? Do something big and flashy.
Yeah, I had a Carice Del Monte lucha mask this year, and my wife and I were going to do this elaborate like Pharaoh and Cleopatra thing with and using the mask, but didn't work out with 2020. So maybe next year.
2020 ruining everything.
Gosh, 2020, get out of here.
Can't be end of the year fast enough.
Yeah.
And I don't care if 2021 is worse. At least it can't start. It can't start any worse, right? We have to work our way down.
Is that almost like a hold my beer question? Like, how much worse could life be? 2021, hold my beer.
I'm positive it will get there, but at least we will have that one glimpse of hope as the year changes. That's all I'm looking for.
Well, we just got to at least stay in the present, because this is what we do here in the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. We focus on the present, and we give a little bit into the future, which we will today. But, as always, we start with the road back to shows. Brendan, let us know what's going on. Big news breaking this week. I know you're going to talk about that, but this is a pretty big road back to shows.
It is. Some of it we're going to talk about later in the show, so I'm really only going to allude to it. So we're going to start with Mexico City still being orange. As I mentioned last week and have kind of felt for a while now, they've been spiking back up, so it's probably going to stay at orange, which puts the TripleMania, I'm just going to throw that little teaser out there, TripleMania was announced, but it puts into big question what they want to do, because they've repeatedly said they want a crowd for this show. It's too big of a show to just do in front of nobody. So there's all kinds of things. It's Mexico. The city officials could just say, it's okay, have your show with 30% capacity, because, they're doing it in Arena Mexico, so why not do it and somewhere else? But that's where we're at with that. Mexico City is still orange, and very unlikely to change on this week's review, although, Lord knows, it's 2020, anything really could happen.
It's a hold my beer statement.
In other COVID-related news, the WWE Performance Center had another big outbreak, which did impact the Halloween Havoc show a little bit. I'm not sure on exactly what matches were tweaked around, but we can talk about that when we get to Halloween Havoc, because sounds like we're going to be talking about that a lot. The other big rumors going around, also something we will be talking to about a person we will be talking about later in the show, which is Thunder Rosa. Lots of talk about her contract this week. Last week we were talking about about other contracts being up and up for grabs and all of that. This week it's the speculation is Thunder Rosa. She's feeding into it tremendously on her social media, just saying, "No, guys, keep talking about it. Maybe I'm going to go." The big rumor was Ryan Satin had said that signs are indicating that she's talking to the WWE, and that's a distinct possibility. It's always, every time I've talked with her, it's always been on her list of things she wants to do. She wants to go
always there. Yeah. She said, if I had been the Thunder Rosa and Lucha Underground that I am now, I'd be in WWE already. Yeah. And so she's always kind of alluded to that being the top of the pole for her,
It's a benchmark. At the moment, I don't view WWE's main shows as much of a benchmark as NXT. So hopefully that's where, hopefully that's where she makes her stop if she decides to go to Florida and work.
Well, they just teach a different style in NXT. All those guys are ready. You see an injury or something, they know what to do immediately, no matter how new they are, because that's been drilled into them. And so things like that, I think, are important. And yeah.
Absolutely. If that's the goal, like I say, I hope that's where she wants to go, because I think that's what Thunder Rosa will look the best, where she'll look the best and kind of rise to the occasion the best. There is a tiny little more update on it where Billy Corrigan did point out that her contract is all the way through 2021. I didn't get the month on that, but it's not January 2021. So.
I don't think he released a month, but he made it seem like it was through a substantial amount of time.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't, something recent. So that was, I guess his way of helping to try and calm the rumors down, because it was, a big, something that was not expected. And so I think automatically people started to see, okay, this must mean something. Who knows? Even Thunder Rosa is kind of playing coy with it on her own social media.
Very much so, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we do have Thunder Rosa's match. We will be covering that later in the show, and that is part of what's leading into the speculation. But as of right now, we have that are applicable to the road back to shows is that the rumors are Thunder Rosa is going to go to WWE, and there's always the swirling rumor that she's going to go to AEW. And then Billy Corrigan is saying no, she's staying here. So we will be sifting through a lot more of that as we get later in the show. So if you want to hear more on Thunder Rosa speculation, trust me, we got a lot that may rival the Halloween Havoc stuff, because there's a lot. we love to talk about Thunder Rosa on this show.
It may. It may. Just let's not get ahead of ourselves here, right?
In other contract things, we were talking about Rush and Dragon Lee last week. This week, in their contracts this week, Rush and LA Park are on the internet's cutting promos talking about the truce being over and it's time to go to war again. The real issue here would be where are they gonna go and do that? Because again, if everybody's contract is up, what company? I mean, any company would be happy to pick up the two of them for a feud, but who's gonna lay down the bones to make that happen is kind of the interesting thing to think about there. Personally, I still would be fine if it happened in MLW or ROH. So it's entertaining to listen to the promos. At this point, though, it kind of comes off as more bluster because there's not any match in the immediate future they're building towards. And then I just wanted to put out a little more hype for another Halloween-themed event. IWRG this weekend is hosting their Castle of Terror event, where the main event is a number of people. I have an old list. The Traumas have since been removed from this, but you have Trauma, Capo del Norte, Capo del Sur, Galeno del Mal, the Tiger, Trauma 2, Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr., Hijo del Espectro Jr., Toxin, and Aragon, all in the cage, and whoever loses this event loses mask or hair. Traditionally in the past it's been an escape event, but there's a little more hints that maybe there might be a pinfall or submission clause this year, so should be a very interesting event.
Yeah.
And then the match that leads into this. So this is not the main event because the cage is, but you've got Dr. Wagner Jr., Hijo de Dos Caras against Capo Mayor and Super Beast. So that tells you just how much respect they're putting on this Castle of Terror Halloween themed match.
Yeah, that's so
super
cool.
excited. All right. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else on the road back to shows that we're supposed to be talking about now? Those were my big stories.
No, I think you covered it. Because you mentioned we're going to talk about that big news later on.
Yeah,
so I think that's where we're at right now. So great. I mean, with that, then you kind of teased a little bit of IWRG. I'm not sure if they're a part of your indie roundup this week, but let's just head into the indie roundup.
Oh, you are 100% correct. I have some IWRG news. They did have an event that was on. They had a Tiger and Toxin match again. Always good when those two get together. At the end of it, Tiger got on the microphone and says that he's been winning enough matches. It's time for him to get a title shot. And I kind of agree. I think Tiger going after any IWRG singles title would be interesting and fun. There was of course a few trios matches in the middle there. I'm gonna jump ahead to near the top of the card. You had Hijo de Canis Lupus, Supernova, Veneno against Cerebro Negro, Aragon, and Freelance. And Hijo de Canis Lupus, Supernova, and Veneno got the win there. And your main event was Dragonbane in a attempted title defense against Demonio Infernal. It actually is a successful one. I just didn't want to give that away. So it's for the IWRG Intercontinental Middleweight title. So I did not see that one, but the reviews I saw on it said that it was a reasonably good match. Some bordering on good, which from some of the reviewers that I look at, and Twitter reviews, remember, are a little more on the stingy side. That's actually really high praise. So yeah, that was the event they had there. That is the results for that event are up on luchacentral.com. And once again, I have a quick update on the main event scene for Lucha Time. They had another match with some of the big names in it. You had VIP, Hijo del Espectro, and Mafioso in kind of a mixed tag. This reminded me a lot of a Teddy Long style tag team, like a bunch of people that barely get along. They really didn't like the other team more, and that was how they got thrown in there, and that seemed to be the story. And the other side was the Tiger, Zorro, and the Mummy. And
get a tag team match, player.
Yeah, that's right. Gonna have us a tag team match. So it was fun. The big story seemed to be would the first team fall apart, and they kind of did. And this was the real Zorro, or the other Zorro, and not that tall crazy guy from last week's main event.
Not the imposter.
But it's curious to see how that plays out. It looks like the old school Zorro, who was also on has matches for this week in Lucha Libre. Looks like he was he's on the side of the Mummy and the Tiger. So I'm still not sure who the baby faces in this are supposed to be, but I'm pretty sure based on the fact that all of the Nueva Era boys on the other side are second, third generation wrestlers from people who were bad guys for the majority of their career, that they're probably not the baby faces most of the time. In other Lucha Time news, they have the YouTube channel for the music company Titan or Titan Records has a Lucha Time show up, but it appears to be a mix of older Nueva Era show matches. So it's an interesting watch, but it's kind of a mixed show at the time being, but it's probably paving the way for their idea of having the American show in the near future. And that's my road back to shows this week.
Very cool.
Right, yes. And I believe Lucha or IWRG results have been posted on luchacentral.com.
Correct.
They continue to be posted. And we are one of the only podcasts that cover Lucha Time. So that's how you know that we are your place for Lucha Libre news. It's not even posted on Lucha Central. You got to listen to the show.
Yeah,
to get
absolutely.
Information on Lucha Time.
And I said original Lucha Time news source.
Absolutely. Yeah, I said it last week. I'm going to stress it again. This wasn't just an on-the-spot thing. If you are part of an indie promotion and you can get me a link, I will watch your stuff and I will do my best to mention in as great a detail as I can on the air. So as long as it's an indie promotion, I don't need your lightsaber duels from somebody's backyard. That just doesn't work for the show.
It's just not a fit for this show, but thank you anyways.
Absolutely. I'll still watch it.
We won't talk about it on the podcast. We just don't have time for that. Sorry, won't make
still
you
watch
it.
Yes.
Well, with that, we are going to kick it off to Denise Salcedo, who brings us this week's Lucha Central.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a reminder of where and when to catch all of the great network content this week. Get the full lineup and listen to all of our shows in the podcast network section of luchacentral.com. On Tuesdays, Mats, and Mayhem takes you inside the world of Lucha Underground as they take you weekly through the series with the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of special guests from the groundbreaking series. Check out the premiere video stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Lucha Central YouTube channel and at luchacentral.com. Then listen to it on your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday. Tuesday nights live, it's WrestleBoss, where Fabi Chulo talks MMA and pro wrestling with special guests and listener call-ins. Visit WrestleBossLive.com Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific to listen live or call in with questions or download the show on podcast platforms on Wednesdays. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Special guests and a whole lot of fun make it one of the most talked about shows in Mexico. Thursdays, it's Straight Out of the Bodega with Papo Esco and PWR promoter Gabriel Ramirez as they have guests from throughout the wrestling world pull up to give an inside look into their careers. From indie standouts to television superstars, each week brings a new name and perspective. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly Podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and out of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. Be sure to subscribe and follow all your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms, either by their own series name or subscribe to the Lucha Central Podcast Network show pages to get all of the shows in one easy feed. And please consider giving a rating to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central Central. Have a great week.
Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to Lucha-Masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at Lucha-Masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
All right. A big thank you to Denise Salcedo, who always brings us this week's Lucha Central Central, letting you know what is happening in the world throughout with the Lucha Central Weekly, or the Lucha Central Podcast Network, which this show is part of, and lots of other great podcasts. So make sure you check out all of the great shows that are part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network. Now, though, we got some news to go over. Of course, Dusty brings us this week in WWE with Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, first up in WWE, well, we had a lot of Lucha content, but in an odd way. But first up, we had SmackDown. And we had Bianca Belair, unfortunately, defeating Zelina in a match. Commentary actually mentioned that the poisoning angle, that happened earlier this summer, which was an odd bit of continuity I appreciated. And they brought that up and why they didn't like each other. And Bianca just could not stop grandstanding and kind of taunting. And Zelina was brilliant because in those moments she took her advantage. Belair largely dominated the match, but Zelina tried to make up for her size disparity by using a flurry of kicks and even a head scissors. But Belair was just able to use her size and strength to hit Zelina with the kiss of death, and she got the win. And then we had another Familia Mysterio segment. First, we had Ray show up for a quick moment in the Law and Otis thing going on. That was I enjoyed that. That entertained me.
I love Law and Otis. That I can get behind.
I enjoyed that. Yeah, that was a positive note. But then, later during Seth Rollins versus Murphy, we see Aaliyah backstage watching the match on a monitor. When Seth and Dominic try to get her to leave, they're like, "Why are you watching that? Come on." But then when they can't get her to quit watching, they start watching with her, and Seth pulls out a kendo stick to, put the whooping down on Murphy, but he's really drawing it out, like an old-time movie villain. And Aaliyah keeps asking her family to get involved, and Ray's like, "That's not our fight. We're not going to go out there." So she runs out there by herself to try to stop Seth, and that just pisses him off. So he starts wailing on Murphy with the kendo stick until Aaliyah jumps in the ring to cover him with her body. And Dominic ran to the ring to try to stop Seth, but then Seth came back to sneak attack Dominic, and then Ray had to run in and drove Seth away. It was nuts. Super telenovela. It's kind of getting interesting. Interesting things are finally starting to happen with this again. So I'm like 10% maybe reinterested in this storyline, but I'll hopefully be more interested later. And
yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like I'm not interested, but because to your point from last week, they just seem to be rehashing it. It's not as a big a deal for me until they make that next big move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they've only had 1 week on Fox. This week was on Fox Sports 1. I have cable and I don't get that channel, so you must have to have good cable to get that one. I've got cheap cable, or the cheapest at least, but I just didn't get, so I watched it later on Hulu, and they had an odd amount of storyline, but also just an odd amount of retreading kind of the summer storyline. So maybe it's all going to go somewhere. Bianca Belair, Mysterios versus Seth, and whatever Murphy's thing is. Because after they left the ring, Murphy gave this deranged look when Seth and Dominic, or when Ray and Dominic rather left the ring. So, I mean, maybe he's still working with Seth. I don't know. That's kind of what's getting me interested, that this might all be playing possum to
Big old swerve.
trap him. Yeah, I'm in for that if that's where it goes. But then we have Monday Night Raw, and we just go from bad to worse. Lindsay Dorado and Grand Metalik, who are still Lucha House Party, apparently, but they defeated Drew Gulak and Akira Tozawa in a tag match. And if you saw this, you know this was not a good match. The entrance Titantron still has Kalisto as part of the Lucha House Party, but ordinarily I'd be kind of excited, but I have a feeling it's just more laziness than any kind of possibility for a storyline. And Lucha House Party, the tag team, the Lindsay Dorado Grand Metalik tag team, had a quick run-in on the pre-show for Hell in a Cell during the scrum for the 24/7 title. That was kind of the only Lucha thing in any shape or form on the entire Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, so we won't really cover that because there's not much to cover. But if you thought this match featuring most of the people that were in that scrum in the pre-show wouldn't involve R-Truth in the 24/7 championship and then completely disregard the tag team match, like you were really wrong. Tozawa fights R-Truth in the middle of the match, just runs out, starts to fight R-Truth, and then everybody takes turns trying to pin Truth for a 2 count. Lindsay tries to get a second bite at the apple, and he makes a flying dive. Truth ducks out, but Lindsay hits Drew Gulak, who is just stunned, apparently, momentarily, that he's been hit with a crossbody, and he's pinned. Grand Metalik and Lindsay get the win. Afterwards, they all take turns, again, failing to pin R-Truth and run to the back. And, like, you have Lindsay Dorado and freaking Mascara Dorada on your roster, and this is how WWE uses them. Like, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. This is embarrassing.
I mean, they had Drew Gulak and Akira Tozawa on the other side of the ring. This could have been a clinic match.
Oh, so amazing. Yeah, like, they should be embarrassed. This is how they're using these guys. Like,
but are you not entertained?
Yeah.
That's just what it is. That's all. It's not wrestling. It's entertainment. This is what they think is entertainment. I don't understand why wrestling and entertainment can't be synonymous. Because you can have both.
Yeah.
You can have actual wrestling and you can be entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and even to that point, like, there are people, like The Miz and others that are naturally, right, that are good at the entertainment part. None of those 4 guys, that's not the thing that brought them there. They all were brought there because they are very talented wrestlers. Yeah. And so it's just a misuse of the skill set of these people to try and put them into the round hole that is entertainment wrestling every week, when these are real wrestlers and luchadors that can do so much better than that. Like, I feel so bad for Drew Gulak, who re-signed to get put into this.
Yeah, I mean, like, so much talent, and all 205 Live competitors. I believe they were all members of the first tournament, and
that's a good point.
And it's, the first Cruiserweight tournament. And so, like, they're still just treated like the little guys. Like, it's just
literal crying shame.
And to a bigger point about the entertainment, not wrestling, look how they're using Rey Mysterio and Dominic right now. Like, they're entertainment for the wrestling we just watched, and then we get the entertainment with the Mysterios. And, I mean, I guess Zelina got some ring time, but that was kind of the only one that was wrestling and not entertainment for the luchadors this week. So it's kind of disappointing. We don't get to see more in-ring stuff because we know these are, the creme de la creme, and they should be, impressing everybody.
They should be showcasing their abilities. I mean, I don't care if it's on 205 and I have to tune into 205. I'd rather find that show on the network than sit through that 10 minutes on Raw.
Yeah, me too. And I'm actually a fan of 205. I've always watched it, and it's usually my Saturday morning viewing now.
No, it's great. It's great viewing. And to that point, though, it's wrestling. It's a wrestling show with wrestlers.
Absolutely.
On it. And I will hunt down the wrestlers I want on whatever program they are if they wrestle. That's where I was at on that. No knock on 205, just.
Yes, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And I just wish we could get more actual wrestling in the WWE. And
oh, you and me both.
I mean, that's what brought us here. There was a time when they were, some of the best in the world, and now they've, turned into, like I say, a telenovela and a soap opera and an odd drama throughout the content, and they have no audience to.
I'm still okay with that as a backdrop, to be honest. Like, the telenovela can add a lot to wrestling, but.
Absolutely. But we need to see why Seth would be afraid of Rey Mysterio. We need to see Rey Mysterio out there just, kicking the crap out of people and, rearranging them with the 619 so that Seth doesn't want that to happen. And, I mean, it kind of builds into our next segment with AEW, but AEW Dark gives people that chance to shine and to wrestle. And you can see they build that up. And that leads us into AEW Dark, because first we had Jurassic Express defeating Danny Limelight and Jersey Muscle. Jersey Muscle is a great name for a tag team. Fun name. This was a fun match. Like, I always love trios matches. I always love seeing Jurassic Express as a trio. Mm-hmm. They have such diverse styles, and they're always fun. They're always interesting for me when they combine. Like, this was good stuff. The match had great pacing, had an amazing, just an awesome finish where they launch Marco through the air at the team to hit the Destroyer for the win. Finisher, like, so good, so fun, just a great match. And then
I just want to jump in real quick because I know Miranda has some feelings about Danny Limelight. Did you want to add anything on this match?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about him later. It's a great platform. Again, I mean, me and Brendan are very West Coast wrestling biased here. So anytime we see some West Coast wrestlers get the chance to go to Jacksonville, it is always a pleasure. It's always a treat. And it seems like they just keep on getting these opportunities through AEW Dark. So good on Danny. Good on him to get that. And, I already saw him post something on social media where it's the Puerto Rican flag draped in the AEW, or the AEW logo draped in the Puerto Rican flag. Just throwing some feelers out there. So, I hope he gets that. And why not? Because you got already a community there.
Right.
The inner circle cannot last forever. So Santana and Ortiz need some backup, they got
I mean, they should get a street gang together, something that can take on Eddie Kingston and everybody. Gang versus gang.
Oh,
I love that.
Your fantasy booking is getting me so excited.
Well, and then our next match was Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian of SCU defeating the Hybrid 2. This was another great match. This was quite a change from the other match, full of technical wrestling and submission holds, and it was actually a really nice change of pace from what you might expect from AEW. Kazarian and Angelico were amazing in this match, and they really elevated it to be something special. Mm-hmm. Even on, like, where you see so much talent in AEW and AEW Dark with wrestling, this match really stood out. But unfortunately, Evans and Angelico got a little too self-assured, and they lost the match after Kazarian got a small package on Jack Evans. But afterwards, they beat down Kazarian and then Daniels to set this up as a feud and not just a one-off match. And I am so excited.
So there for that.
Go ahead, sorry.
Keep going. No, you keep going.
This plays into, I'm going to mention it later with Pentagon, but this plays into the hubris and being too self-assured in the match and trying to get your stuff in. Kind of, I mean, like, I'm interested to see where that goes for the Hybrid too, because we're seeing some evolution in them, and it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to the fact that, like you said, they're evolving as a team, and we're getting this program with these guys that are kind of the cornerstone of the tag team division. They may not be in the title picture right now, but they were tag team champs, and they are, yeah. So my big goal is to have a match on television, on Dynamite, and then to have a pay-per-view match with these four guys.
That would be so cool.
That's what I want right now.
And it's a great way to include some tag teams outside of the title picture. Like, these are guys that need to be highlighted. It would help get eyes on the hybrid too and legitimize them. Like, yeah, I would love that.
I'm 1,000% there for all of that.
And then our next match, we had FTW champion Brian Cage defeating Fuego del Sol. This is awesome. Like, I always love seeing Cage wrestle a luchador. That's, so good. That's his best work in my opinion. And this was almost Machine Cage, and I loved it. Ricky Starks is on commentary. He was amazing as always. And Fuego got in some early offense. He almost got a pin on a reversal, but that just made Cage mad, and he just destroyed him in the ring for the rest of the match. But it was a great match if you like Cage, and it was a lot of fun. It was a fun match, and I, highly recommend this one. It was just fun, and it is what it is, but it was really fun. And then we had Diamante and Ivelisse defeating Kylan King and Savannah Evans. And, you talk about, this is my favorite match of the night right here. They referred to Ivelisse as the Sicaria in her entrance, and it's true. I mean, that's what we got tonight. Ivelisse and Diamante worked together so well as a team. And despite, I like Kylan King, and her pairing with Savannah Evans was kind of cool. They're both really tall, they noted, and so they kind of look impressive together. But it just wasn't enough for Diamante and Ivelisse to come up against them, because they're so much better. And Diamante actually got the pin, which is a nice change, and she hit her Code Red finisher.
Yeah.
And this was a great match. She got her finisher in, it's usually Ivelisse gets the pin, and so it was just kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, and they're doing more double team moves too. The reason Ivelisse,
they really are.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason Ivelisse was normally getting the pin is because she was the one that could fall on top of somebody after their sort of signature double team. So they're mixing it up a little now.
They are so good as a team. Like, the synchronicity and the shared mind is amazing. Like, it's really cool to see. And then the next night we had AEW Dynamite. And we had the big match, the main event, Kenny Omega versus Penta El Zero M. This was a rematch from their All-In matchup in 2018, and this match was incredible. This is the Penta that I've been waiting for.
Yes.
So many people are happy to see Kenny back as the cleaner, and that's exciting. I get it. I'm excited. But I was so happy to see Pentagon back as the arm snapping Cerro Miedo, just a badass assassin that we all love. Kenny had an amazing entrance where he came out and the Broom Girls were wearing Lucha Bros masks, official Lucha Bros masks. They really looked good. I thought it was a cool moment. I thought it was more cool for the Lucha Bros, though, than for Kenny. Because if I was a teenage guy and saw that, I'd be like, yeah, I like those masks.
Yep.
But it was cool. And then the whole match, the little details like that throughout the whole match. Phoenix was holding a towel the whole match, and I thought that was going to come into play because we've seen him throw in the towel on some matches, but he never threw it in. He was just there with the towel, and I loved that because it kind of built suspense, and it helps build continuity that if these guys have a towel, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody's throwing it in. I loved the whole thing. Great, subtle work. Omega started the match in a t-shirt, the Elite versus Street Fighter t-shirt, but then he pulled it up and revealed he had the AAA Mega Campeon Championship under the shirt.
Such a good move.
Oh, it was such a cool moment. If you've seen Back to the Future 3, Marty does a similar thing. Like, oh, it's just so cool. I loved that whole spot. Awesome. And this whole match was amazing. Like, I don't really have any complaints aside from at no point did I really think Penta would win, because this is building the Kenny and Hangman storyline.
Yeah.
We know that's where it's headed, but that didn't impede my enjoyment of the match any. This isn't the strongest main event. I absolutely think it's in the top 3 main events that Dynamite has ever done.
It's got to be up there. It's got to be way up there. I know everyone will have their personal favorite, but I mean, how can you not be excited to see the return of the Cleaner versus the return of the Breaker of Bones? Right?
Oh, it's just so good. And near the end of the match, speaking to Breaker of Bones, Penta pulled out that arm breaker. We all loved the arm breaker. He hit it hard. Like, Kenny looked injured in the moment. It was so good. And he reversed the one-winged angel and was able to hit the arm breaker. Nobody really reverses the one-winged angel. So that was incredible. So cool. And then he tried to get his stuff in again instead of like just getting the pin. He always has to do the Cerro Miedo or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he tried to hit a springboard thunder hook off the second rope there, but Kenny hit him with a hard knee, and then hit the one-winged angel for the win. But it was just an amazing match. It was so good. Like I say, it's one of the best main events they've ever had. You can have your favorite, but like this, it has to be up there for everybody. This is going to be a universal favorite. And no, it doesn't matter if you're into the Elite thing, if you're into the Lucha thing, it had everything. There was a destroyer on the outside at the little steps and entranceway. Yeah. It had, commentary mentioned it, it had a sickening noise. Like, it just sounded nasty and just so good. Like, I cannot recommend this match enough. What did you think, Brendan?
I mean, you covered most of it. It is the one negative that I had, and it has nothing to do with the match, is they spent way too much of my favorite parts of the match in picture-in-picture.
Yes,
that was another big part. I was really surprised that they did that. Out of all the matches, I don't know. It just, I'm picture-in-picture is just always a weird thing for me. Like when they do it during certain matches in general. I mean, it always felt like it was reserved for kind of throwaway matches, but I feel now in multiple companies that it's used even during really good matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also gives the impression that it's important and it's a legitimate sport.
Yes.
And, they're trying to give you the action, and that way you don't miss it. I wouldn't be surprised at some point if we see a finish play into the picture-in-picture thing. And, to try to help sell the legitimacy of it being live. And, you saw it here. And, I'm certain they'll replay it. But I think that will be part of how they help kind of get the picture-in-picture over with the crowd at some point.
Well, they used to say that. They used to say, we're going to do picture-in-picture. And if the match ends, we will, don't worry, fans, we'll give you the whole thing. So I like that they're not saying that every time, which means there's a point that they could do it now and it would feel fresh and exciting. And I want somebody to do that at some point. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, but all in all, AEW had a lot of quality product this week for Lucha.
Yeah.
And, I actually watched Dynamite the next morning because I think Miranda's going to talk about it here, but we had NXT Halloween Havoc that same night. Miranda, do you want to run down Halloween Havoc for us?
Yes, I would love to. And that I have to admit, I was glued onto Halloween Havoc all of last night.
Me too.
Just was a lot of fun. Usually for NXT, we only cover, Lucha content, but I think it's too much of a fun show to not cover all aspects of it. So,
yes.
Sorry, not sorry. This is just it. It's just so great.
One time a year, we just get excited about the showmanship. So
yes. And it's Halloween Havoc. Everybody's been wanting this for such a long time. So,
yeah.
And it definitely had some funny movements. I would say that this is almost the most out of character of NXT that I've ever seen it, as far as some of the comedy and the bits. Usually we would expect that from an AEW, but I would say that it fit really the tone of the entire night and made it just very fun to watch. The first match of the night was for the North American Championship, Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano. And we got an actual wheel. So we got a live wheel, proper wheel, which again, I didn't know if I wanted, but now I'm swaying back. I'm back into the camp of a real wheel.
The real wheel had Frankenshotzi, so, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the spot on the real wheel, the Gargano spot. I love the real wheel. Like, real wheel is for me.
Real wheel, yes. I think
Viva
we're
real wheel.
So this was the first match too, where we had Shotzi spin the wheel, make the deal, and it turned out to be a Devil's Playground match, which they didn't reveal what the stipulations of the match were until the middle of the match, that was kind of a funny thing.
Yeah.
The Devil's Playground match is a no disqualification, no count out, falls count anywhere match. So they really took it anywhere. They fought in the ring, out of the ring, in the back. There was a fun spot where Johnny Gargano pulled out a kendo stick, but Damian Priest pulled out a nightstick out of nowhere.
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from? I don't know, but it was part of the stipulation. They could use anything. They fought into the back where they used trash cans. Johnny Gargano really laid in some punishment to Damian Priest, and they ended up going up the set, in which they were where the wheel was. And at one point, just when we thought Damian Priest was getting the advantage, a masked man came, and in Masked Man, it is Ghostface from Scream Mask.
Yeah.
that came out
cool.
with a steel pipe that helped Johnny Gargano get some leverage against Damian Priest, to the point where Johnny Gargano was able to, well, I think it was the Ghostface Mask killer. He actually was able to push Damian Priest off the off the ledge where the wheel was, into the set below. And Johnny Gargano was able to take advantage of that for the pin, and he becomes the new NXT North American champion. So already the night started off with a big title change. And this too really leveraged the entire set, and the stipulation really took advantage of that. And now we have a new storyline of who helped Johnny Gargano, who was the man behind the mask. This was overall very fun. I'm gonna skip Pat McAfee because whatever. Next match.
Thank you.
This was announced just a few days before. We had Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas. This was a non-title match. Very quick, and I could see how this almost felt a little bit out of place. However, you know your girl popped when Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma came out, not only rocking the Dia de los Muertos faces, that ode to Rey Mysterio's Halloween Havoc gear. I mean,
so
come on.
Cool, yeah.
The actual Phantom. So it's a layered thing, yeah.
So many layers, so amazing. And this was also, you're talking about underutilization of Rey Mysterio. How could we just not get him on the show?
Why wasn't he there? Because he apparently sent his original gear, his Halloween Havoc gear, to WWE so it could be replicated for Santos. But then why wasn't he there? Like, he should have been there. They should have had it on a mannequin, and he should have been standing there, pointing to it.
And again, the layers of Legado del Fantasma, about their mission of the legend of Lucha Libre, Respeta la Lucha, all of that. I just do not get why we couldn't even have just a little Rey Mysterio. But, the ode to him and the look that Legado del Fantasma had was fantastic. I
Absolutely.
popped so hard.
Oh, it was so cool. We've talked a lot about how important your look and your gear is to the match and to your, aura and appearance and how people take you seriously as a wrestler. And Legado del Fantasma, they just get it. Like the gear this week every week it's very impressive, but this week it was just so spot on. Like they get it, and not many people do, but they get it.
Yes.
And it's so good.
Now, the only thing I was a little disappointed that this match, one, didn't have a stipulation, because I thought it would have been fun.
I thought they should all have a stipulation.
Yeah. Two, that it ended very quickly. So, again, talking about the numbers game, Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde interfered, distracting the referee. Jake Atlas got upset, and started to get into a tussle with them. I believe it was Raul Mendoza who brought out that lucha mask. As Brendan,
Yes.
how do you describe it?
I'm using the exact phrasing that Santos used. It's got heritage and legacy in it. That's what's in there.
Heritage and legacy. So that
It was so good. Yeah, I loved that.
But to Jake Atlas, allowing Santos Escobar to seal the deal with the Phantom Driver. So this shows that maybe we're getting, a program between Santos and Jake Atlas, which is great.
I'm all here for that.
Of it was great.
Yeah.
The presentation of Lucha Libre on this night was great. I wish it was a little different. They could have just done so much more with it and have that celebration of Halloween Havoc. Like, not only just what it is for Halloween, but one of the best matches, luchador matches in history happened at Halloween Havoc. And so I wish there was a little bit more of recognition of that. But, they still look really good. So, I mean, hey, they don't get paid by the hour. They did what they needed to do.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about the haunted house of terror match between Cameron Grimes and Dexter Lumis.
I love this.
It's not lucha, but come on, you guys. I also legit believe Dexter Lumis is like, he's just a serial killer now. Like,
he's a psycho.
Like, this Halloween Havoc just elevated his character in ways that I don't think any regular
it was so perfect.
He just was a perfect.
When they went back to the ring and they showed the zombies, I was like, come on, you had these amazing vignettes and you go to this. But then when they entered the ring and she starts to crawl all over him, I was like, yes, this. Like, they redeemed it. I saw it it was so good. The payoff on that was insane. It was so creepy. I mean, that's Japanese horror movie creepy. I loved it.
Yes. My favorite kind of creepy.
And again, this is very out of character for NXT, but it still worked.
Oh, it was stunningly perfect. It worked
so
beautifully.
I really liked it. So, good on them. Good. Perfect for Halloween Havoc.
Mm-hmm. We've mentioned the cinematography before, but again with this, it looked like a horror movie. It really did. It was stunning.
Yeah.
And the production is insane on NXT.
Yeah. Next up, we have Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez. This match was built up, and I loved before they did this match, they had kind of a tail of the tape between these two competitors, and I just loved it because it really showed how they measure up, of course, in size, in strength, and that was a big theme throughout this match, is both of them seemed very surprised that their competitor was able to take the amount of punishment that they laid out. And I think this was definitely one of the most impressive matches of Raquel Gonzalez's career. We have not seen her in very many lengthy matches, and this was a long one, for both of them. So I think that at one point I just remember Rhea Ripley, they were both up on the top rope and Rhea's trying to do the riptide. I was like, this is not happening. Like this, I love it. Not happening.
And it didn't, but it was not better.
Yeah. just like throughout the entire time just was really pushing each other. And there was, some of your typical hits and back and forth. And they went at it right away, which is one of my favorite things of when you see two people who truly don't like each other. One of my things is why wait? Why measure each other up? They went straight into it.
Yeah, and it was awesome.
Just gonna go straight for your teeth, and
yeah. It felt visceral. It felt, like a fight, not a wrestling match, but a fight. And I loved that.
I wanted out of these two.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Like their size, their strength, their talent. Like they'd kill me. I wouldn't want to fight either one of them. It was amazing. Like they legitimately looked like the two toughest people on the show.
Yeah.
And it was insane. I loved it.
It does lead to, kind of a question or maybe for some fans thinking, could have this waited for a takeover? Could they saved this for a takeover?
They can still do it at a takeover.
They can still do it at a takeover, but I think it's going to be, a lot to live up to. I think if their match was maybe a little bit shorter, or say, for example, they just couldn't get their hands off of each other, so it was a double DQ, and that I think that could have been a way to do this. But I think in some way, unless it's something different, I don't know. But I could see some of the argument behind that. I think it was also a perfect setup for Halloween Havoc as well. Just because,
it was.
Like Dusty mentioned, just this visceral energy that I think seeps through.
And Halloween Havoc felt like a secret pay-per-view. Like the whole thing, like everything was pay-per-view quality. If it wasn't takeover quality, it was almost like we talked about the match earlier on Dynamite, but this legitimately was one of the best and strongest episodes of NXT ever. Like this was insane from top to bottom. And so I feel like they did pull out all the stops and kind of give us those takeover level matches, even though it wasn't necessarily a takeover. They gave us a lot of high quality the two title matches, those were easily takeover pay-per-view level matches as well.
Yep. I viewed this as a pay-per-view, so I was
Well, and to Brendan's point, we could see this. Maybe they end up doing two more, and Raquel gets a victory, and then we have a rubber. There's lots of possibilities.
Don't get my hopes up. Oh my god.
I would love that too.
Well, I don't think anything's been resolved too. As we'll talk about, the women's title picture is still very busy. We have the return. Again, Toni Storm is supposed to be making a comeback. Ember Moon is on her way through. Dakota Kai is still in the scene. So there's room for, and especially too, if Dakota Kai and Ember Moon are in a program, that frees up Raquel. So there's lots of things with this. Real quick though, I want to give a shout out to the segment right after this. Of course, Rhea Ripley winning with the Riptide. So again, as we talked about, who knows?
We didn't have to mention that part.
We didn't have to mention it. Just for all of you to know. After this, though, we had a fun little segment between a few people. Drake Maverick was dressed up as
Hollywood Hulk Hogan,
Hollywood, let's be specific, Hollywood. And he was trying to do an interview with Mackenzie, who he kept referring to as Mean Gene. She was trying into it. Later on, though, he ended up getting stuck between the Yeti and, first the Giant. One came out as the Giant, and then the Yeti came out, and he was squished between them. If anyone doesn't know what this is referencing to, you need to watch. Go watch. Well, Halloween Havoc 96?
96, yes.
Just
I believe
go
it's
on
96.
YouTube and Google the Yeti and
The
wrestling.
Yeti!
It is a very infamous clip. Everybody has put up their own VHS version of it. So,
Yes. So we
a
had
mummy
that.
humps Hulk Hogan. You've got to see it.
So we had that ode, and then Killian Dane came out as the Shockmaster.
Yes, that was so cool.
He came out, and Drake said, "Why didn't you trip? How come you didn't fall in?" And Killian said, that whole thing, no, I got rid of that. So, and Drake was so upset that he wasn't he wasn't just having the spirit of Halloween. And so he from the mask and then he fell. So, good odes to old school WCW, to Halloween Havoc, to the worst, wrestling, premieres or entrances of all time. So anyone who's a fan of Halloween Havoc, again, this show, paid for that in spades.
It had something for you.
Yes,
Absolutely had something for you.
Now, speaking of pay-per-view quality, the main event was Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae. So this too was a little bit of a shocker, but not really, because the women's division is literally the best in all of pro wrestling. I will fight you right now. NXT women's division, granted, okay, so if you want to, go into maybe some Japanese brands and promotions, yes. However, of U.S. wrestling and even probably most of the world, NXT women's division is hands down the best. This had some pay-per-view quality entrances as Io Shirai. I think her music changed a little bit. It was performed by so that too gives definitely a pay-per-view vibe. But this was the second spin the wheel, make the deal match. And it was a tables, ladders, and scares match. And right away, they both went for the ladders. You knew this was going to be kind of a quick match because it was only like 10 minutes left in the show. They kind of knew what was going to happen. But Candice LeRae really taking advantage of Io Shirai's leg, really targeting that. Literally ladders and chairs were involved through the whole time. And then, again, we saw the Ghostface mask coming in to help Candice LeRae, but Shotzi Blackheart, the host, the hero, stopped the figure in time.
Yes.
And then, so Io Shirai, pretty much as Candice was still on the top of the ladder, but Io Shirai was able to knock her off the ladder and pull the title for the win. So Io Shirai is still your NXT Women's Champion. So again, this was a quick ladder match, especially for women's. That's not something that we've typically seen, but I think it was done very effectively. You got all the points that you needed to. And again, I think this is it's still very interesting to see who's this alliance between Johnny and Candice and now this, Ghostface individual. But overall, they did a fantastic job in just the short amount of time too. So, just a fun night overall. This was definitely probably one of my favorite shows of 2020.
I think it's Jason's mom. That's who I think it is.
Well, see, at first I thought it was going to be Candice, and then it comes out, and I was like, oh, that's going to be Gargano.
You could tell when the first time they came out, it was definitely a muscular build.
Yeah.
Candice is
yeah, it wasn't Candice. Yeah, like when you saw it after a minute. That's what I was going to say. When you came out at the end, you could tell it wasn't Gargano. Like the build was just too tall. Like, not to be rude, but he was too tall to be Gargano. And so it was just interesting to see. I'm excited to see. I was disappointed we didn't get to see a Shotzi's Choice. I wanted to see that on the Spin the Wheel. So I'm hoping we get more of that somehow.
Yeah, Shotzi did a great job as host.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Fun. I just think it was a great fit for her. And again, it shows she's really talented, not only in the ring, but just a drawing personality. So
yep. Absolutely.
WWE needs to figure out a way to have her be an Elvira type character with old horror movies, because I would even buy that on like Blu-ray or DVD or whatever if it wasn't on the network, because I would just be so entertained by that.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do things on the network like a curated list of the scariest, moments in WWE history hosted by her. Like that could have been.
Yeah, they had Boogeyman host it, which was strange, like and out of place, and I was not a fan.
Oh well, but yes, some good ode and testament. They could have done better. You could have done better. You could have done better. You could have had actually Rey Mysterio there or some other nod to Rey Mysterio, but some of the other nods to WCW past, and even Michael P. Hayes. I don't know what the hell he was doing there, but damn, I didn't hate that either.
He was taking people to Bad Street. What else?
True. Any day you can hear Bad Street. good day because you definitely sing it along. So, but yes, the results for of the shows that we talked about: Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Dark, and NXT Halloween Havoc are available on luchacentral.com. So if you missed it, you can go there and get all of your results. Next, we're going to be jumping into some news from CMLL with Brendan.
Oh my goodness, I can't follow that. CMLL had their first week of programming after the women's tournament, which was ostensibly the beginning of the Lord of the Underworld tournament. They had the Cibernetico for that near the end of the card. All in all, it was very light on the pageantry that I usually enjoy out of the Day of the Dead programming, so I'm hoping that this Friday they step it up a little bit, but it's certainly understandable seeing as nobody was in the arena and a lot of the preparation for this had to happen probably very last minute.
I didn't see a lot of the masks and photos that I expected to see. Like I've seen a lot of masks on social media and through some of the makers, and I'm really expecting them to go all out this week, hopefully.
Yeah. I'm hoping we'll see those this week, because the only themed mask I saw was Mephisto had a Day of the Dead themed mask, which I really want.
Yes. Oh, it's amazing. That's a Buccio as well. Buccio made several Day of the Dead masks for people. I saw 4 or 5. Titan had a couple different that he was showing off on social media. I'm drawing a blank on the other name that I saw, but I saw several. So hopefully we'll see some play out this weekend.
Oh, and Volador had a very special mask this week too, but that's in a very different way. So we started off with Spanto Jr. and Oro Jr. This is 2 younger guys just kind of trying to show off, and it was an entertaining match. Spanto Jr. came out on top on that. And then you had Espiritu Negro and Rey Kamada against Ifesto and Okamura. And I really like the team of Espiritu Negro and Rey Kamada, but the 2 guys across the ring for them did not draw anything good out of them. So this was a little rough. They did get the win, but it was not of the past few pay-per-views, it was not my favorite of their matches. Then you have the probable match of the night. I mean, it's my pick. It was the women's match. You had Princesa Sugit and Marcella for the CMLL Women's Championship. It went all the way to all 3 falls. They gave this 21 minutes and 14 seconds, which is an unprecedented amount of time for. Yeah. I had several interesting conversation with people about the state of the women's division in CML after this, because we all have very differing opinions on it. They all loved this match.
Yes.
But
and that Michinoku driver finish at the end was
so good.
Oh, stunning. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries at all. You covered the finish, which I didn't. I was so taken away with the rest of the match, I didn't actually write down what the finisher was, because I was
to help.
I was just on board with this whole thing. But anyway, it was a lot of people agree that this is a good step in the right direction for the women's division to maybe have more big matches like this. So I'm excited by that possibility. Like I said, it was 21 minutes. Princesa Sugahate did win. She is the new CMLL Women's Champion. This was Marcella's, would have been her 7th defense, so she successfully defended 6 times. Princesa Sugahate is the 20th woman to wear this belt.
Wow.
And, I mean, that's, when you get down to it, considering that it's dates back a ways there. That's not a lot of ladies that have held it. So
No, yeah, that's a long period of time. Like, it's really impressive. I mean, most people hold it for years.
Yeah.
I believe Marcella's reign was 704 days.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So yeah, it was very impressive all around.
Yeah. Like I said, for me, this was my pick for match of the night. And then we went into the Cibernetico for the Lord of the Underworld tournament, or I don't have it. Rey del Inframundo.
Yes.
So we had, going into this match, we had Euphoria, Terrible, Stuka, Atlantis Jr., Rey Bucanero, Valiente, Sobranario Jr., Templario, Diamante Azul, and Mephisto. Those that are less familiar with the Ciberneticos, as they will enter into a battle royal, which will then determine the last two people are going to wind up being the team that goes into to fight, or the two that fight for the championship. But after a certain period, you had pins as eliminations instead. Everybody got divided into teams, and people started getting eliminated here. So, not my notes on this, so I will do my best here. So the sides were Rey Bucanero, Sobranario Jr., Diamante Azul, Euphoria, and Mephisto against Valiente, Stuka Jr., Atlantis Jr., Templario, Terrible. And then eliminations went Atlantis Jr., Mephisto eliminated him. Rey Bucanero was eliminated by Valiente. Mephisto was then eliminated by Templario. Stuka was eliminated by Diamante Azul. Valiente by Euphoria. Sobranario by Templario. Diamante Azul by Terrible. Templario then was eliminated by Euphoria, which left Terrible and Euphoria as the final two. So they are going to be battling out Friday. So as this show goes on the air for the Rey del Inframundo event, they were both given special markings by one of the Lords of the Underworld as part of the pageantry for it. One of the few things we got for our normal presentation. And
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's less of an exciting match than the pageant, watching what the pageantry is going to do.
Yes. Well, and Sanson was 2 years reigning champion.
Yep.
Like he had the actual title and everything.
Yep.
And, but he, is a COVID absence. Yeah. So it's opening up a new chapter for the event, which is kind of exciting.
It is kind of exciting. And I was excited when I saw who they put in the Cibernetico. And I don't want to say I'm not excited by the concept of Euphoria or Terrible winning, but I mean, there were so many other potentially interesting matchups that were in there.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to have seen Diamante Azul go a little further. I mean, he made it pretty far, but Terrible did have an amazing finish on Diamante Azul, I guess it was worth it, but still sad. Like, I thought he was going to go further.
I wanted to see Sobranario Jr. in the finals.
That would have been really cool. Yeah. Just to push a younger guy and give him a big spot on a cool Friday night show. And
a guy that we know can step up to do it, because outside of CMLL, whenever he's been allowed to step out, he's put on amazing matches. So he could really be that guy. They just don't seem to want to do that with him yet. Anyway, before we ramble on too long and this turns into us talking about the WWE and how CMLL and the WWE seem to be the same.
It's true, though.
The main event was the tag team of Caristico and Mystico against Titan and Volador Jr. And the boys in silver and gold managed to win this. I mean, after the ladies match and the Cibernetico, this just really did not hold my attention very well.
No, the only real notable part was the nose injury. You know, when Volador busted his nose, and
that was the main part. You have segued us perfectly to the most interesting part. The finish did seem a little hurried after we had Volador hit his nose while attempting to do a spot on the second turnbuckle, and a lot of blood was on the mat and all over his face, and it was it was physically unpleasant to watch, and so that meant they had to replay it like 6 times.
Yeah, it was gnarly. And it was all over social media.
Yeah. At least on social media, I could avoid it, but I kept thinking they were going to show the rest of the match, and instead they just showed the injury over and over again. Yeah, I mean, all in all, this was a good event. It does make me excited for this week's event. The ladies match being as good as it was. I'm always excited for the finals of the Rey del Inframundo. So, this Friday should be very good. We know for sure we're going to get the, Euphoria and Terrible match, and the rest, has not been announced as of this recording. So, I look forward to finding out with everybody else what we're going to get.
Thank you, Brendan, for that CMLL update. Next, we're going to give you a little bit of news from MLW. We haven't talked about them in quite some time, but today they released the date for the MLW restart. They've been teasing this for quite some time, and today MLW announced, plus the wrestlers, some wrestlers also announced that the restart is happening on Wednesday, November 18th.
That's
also
close.
So close.
That is just a few weeks away.
3 weeks,
MLW
so exciting.
will be back. And also they announced that they're going to they have renewed their partnership with beIN Sports. That means that the broadcast partnership, the broadcasting rights, to the weekly series MLW Fusion. So that's going to continue. A lot of, wrestlers and stars from MLW like Hammerstone, Alicia Toot, Marshall Von Erich, all of that, they were all jumping on board. So as far as the new era, the restart begins November 18th. They're going to be on Fubo Sports and YouTube on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And then the replay will be on Saturdays at 10 p.m. on beIN Sports USA. So
nice.
We got some more wrestling content out there.
Oh, that's always exciting.
One of the people who also announced the restart was Selena De La Renta. And her name has been popping up recently in Pulp Fusion because Conan had made an announcement saying that he knew Selena's secret. She had a secret and he knew, and he announced it, that Selena has been the inside man to Contra. He's alluded to the fact that Selena and Promociones Dorado have been having some financial struggles and got into a dangerous alliance with the Contra unit. So she's been helping them infiltrate MLW. So that is something we may see come on the restart. We may continue to see on, Pulp Fusion, or just through social media in general. But that is an interesting development, that Selena and possibly Promociones Dorado having some kind of alliance with Contra unit.
Yeah, I think that's can lead to some interesting story, because before it felt like you had Promociones Dorado as kind of one group of not too nice people, and you had Contra as like the super bad guy group.
Yeah.
now you can kind of have them sort of on the same page, but also looking out for their own interests. So you can do some really interesting things with this. I'm super excited. And Selena is always a schemer, so she's always got an angle.
You never know. She's very strategic in everything that she does. So this was definitely, it was beneficial to both. Maybe not only financially, but Selena knows what she's getting into with Contra Unit. Very much a dangerous alliance. Zing. All right, next. And also, in just quick news, this is just, again, as, the Puerto Rican on this show, how could I not provide some news on what's happening between MLW and IWA Puerto Rico? Earlier this week, MLW announced that they have reached an agreement to form a strategic partnership between the two organizations. Court Bauer announced that they're going to share resources with the aim of helping each other on the fight and business sides of both leagues. Of course, it's big. Cool. MLW has been working with Savio Vega for quite some time. Also, currently, MLW wrestler Richard Holiday is enjoying his reign as the IWA Caribbean Heavyweight Champion.
You need some air quotes around that.
Yeah. This is the audio, so he's, I'm sure Richard Holiday is enjoying his reign. He is enjoying it, but it's not really a full reign. So there's already some alliance, between the two companies there. But again, it's just another partnership, between two promotions, especially in different parts, of the world, with different populations and fan bases. So, that's very big news for MLW and IWA Puerto Rico. So that is your MLW updated news. Now with the restart happening November 18th, you know that we're going to be covering it on Lucha Central Weekly. So, and continue to watch. MLW Underground is still on YouTube. That has still been rolling out. So, great content there. Again, we don't always get the chance to talk about MLW, but I have a feeling starting on November 18th.
Yes. Hope
so. We can carve out a bigger spot for them for sure.
Yes. And speaking of things coming back up, Dusty, you have some exclusive news. Brendan alluded to this earlier, but we definitely both got some AAA news happening. Some big things happening with AAA.
Yeah, so there was quite a big press conference with a lot of announcements. At the recent press conference, we got several pieces of news. The first kind of major piece with the most social media attention and the most kind of news attention was that AAA is partnering with Disney and Marvel Comics to introduce 4 luchadors based on the new Marvel Comics luchador line of Funko Pops, and a tag match featuring Arcano, who is based on Spider-Man, and Leyenda Americana, who is based on Captain America, will be taking on the Rudo team of Terra Purpura, based on Thanos, and Veninoide, there we go, based on Venom. And very cool. The 4 characters are recently revealed as part of the latest group in Marvel's Funko Pops collection. They announced a larger Lucha Libre collection. I guess maybe we'll see how that plays out. I think it's interesting that so far the Captain America and Thanos Funkos have not been announced. So, maybe we'll see something special there. It's also interesting that they have Captain America for the Mexican audience. I thought that was kind of an interesting choice. So we'll see what. Go ahead.
And on the good guy side.
Technico. So we'll see what happens. The whole thing's just kind of interesting. And what's even more interesting and kind of exciting is these characters will be part of Lucha Libre AAA forever, AAA for quite a while. It's going to go beyond TripleMania. They are going to be heavily promoted according to the press conference, and it's gotten a lot of positive press through social media and wrestling news and even toys and collectors. People are really excited about it that aren't necessarily Lucha fans, which is really exciting. And I think all of us here at Lucha Central are excited about the possibility that it opens up too. But we had a lot more information in the press conference as well. Other bits of news was that Dorian Roldan announced that La Parka, and this is La Parka 2, the one that passed away earlier this year, not LA Park, who you see in MLW and those places that used to be La Parka. This is the second La Parka. But he'll be inducted into the Lucha Libre AAA Hall of Fame, and his induction really comes as no surprise. He was one of the biggest stars in Lucha Libre AAA over the past several years, and his untimely death this past January just made him the most likely candidate for induction this year. And his induction will take place at TripleMania whenever that does take place. And whenever that is, we know that there will be 7 matches. They announced 7 matches. Only 3 were revealed. They kind of played coy on what the rest of the matches will be. The first match announced is, a match of the year candidate. AEW superstar Kenny Omega returning to Lucha Libre AAA to defend his Mega Campeon championship against Laredo Kid, who put on a match of the year contender earlier this year against Octagon Jr. The Kenny Omega and Laredo Kid have fought twice in trios action in the last year, but no solo. And like I say, match of the year, I am really excited. And then our other announcement beyond the Marvel Tag Team match and the Mega Campeon Championship match was an Apuestas match between Chessman and Pagano, hair versus hair. So, you're going to have to lock up your cookie sheets. They're going to destroy many cookie sheets. This is a long-running feud. It's still being fought at Auto Lucha's tapings. Hopefully we'll see that playing out soon. But, and numerous cookie sheets have been destroyed in this feud. And I hope that they, really cap it off, because that's one of the most fun parts of AAA. You never really see that in other promotions. It's something uniquely them. So I'm really looking forward to TripleMania whenever it happens.
So they're currently shooting for December.
Yes.
But they haven't given us a specific date. Typically, TripleManias are on Saturdays, so there are 4 potential Saturdays that they can do. As I was kind of leaning to mentioning before, they will not be able to do a full capacity show. There's almost no way unless they actually get some sort of presidential pardon because of COVID crap.
Their plan completely hinges on the health conditions of Mexico City at the time. And nobody knows if they'll be able to have fans in the building or if they're willing to have it without fans at this point.
They still said, even that was what I was talking about, that even after this press conference, that they want to have a show with fans.
Yes.
So there's a couple of options that I have seen swirling around. One is, as I mentioned, it is currently all right to have up to 30% capacity for sporting events inside the greater Mexico City area. So they could have a greatly diminished crowd, or they could go somewhere else like Puebla, which is already in yellow, so they could have a larger crowd there, but they don't have as big of an arena that they could do it at. So those are generally the choices that they have to weigh if they want to stick with trying to do it in December.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens. I'm really looking forward to it. TripleMania is actually my favorite pay-per-view or big show of the year. It normally happens the same weekend, like right around my birthday, so that's always cool for me. But it was just another thing that made this year feel surreal and different and very strange.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, we'll get it. I like the idea. I saw this kind of mentioned on social media that they might do it the week between Christmas and New Year because so many people are home. And, so that Saturday would be a good day for people to watch, if they're
I'd love
tuning
it.
in.
I'd absolutely love that, yeah.
Yeah. And now I can take you from the future or potential happenings to the past and things that have already happened, because it's time for This Week in Lucha History.
Look at this time travel.
Yes, time travel. Marty McFly's got nothing on us. be sure that you check in every day at luchacentral.com every single day, because we have This Day in Lucha Libre by Pep Carrera, and every day there is new information, new birthdays, new anniversaries, amazing videos, matches of the day, everything all about Lucha Libre at luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. This week I chose October the 27th, 2000, when CMLL held the first ever CMLL La Leyenda de Azul at the Arena Mexico in Mexico City. This was an awesome show. It was held in tribute to the legendary Blue Demon in very much the same way that Santo is honored with La Leyenda de Plata. This isn't quite as prestigious. It was held only a few weeks after the original La Leyenda de Plata, and it wasn't treated as big of a deal, and so it just never as prestigious. But there is a plaque like La Leyenda de Plata, and there is a special, you guys may have seen it before, a Blue Demon belt that you can win, when you're champion, and it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful belt, yeah.
It's stunning. And these were held on Friday nights, kind of like the current shows are with CMLL. And each night was a special night for CMLL, but it was also part of a regular Super Viernes show, and continued to be held annually from 2000 pretty regularly until 2009. At that point, Blue Demon Jr. threatened a lawsuit against CMLL because he was with NWA and he didn't want to have anything to do. They were feuding. So they dropped it for a couple of years, but then La Leyenda de Azul returned and it continued with El Hijo del Blue Demon giving his approval, and they did 5 shows between 2011 and 2017. But this is the first show, and it was amazing. Had a tournament for the main event that saw Blue Panther win an amazing match after beating Mr. Niebla, but it was a 16-man Torneo Cibernetico match. The other luchadors were Brazo de Plata, Bestia, Cien Caras, Emilio Charles Jr., Lismark Jr., Rayo de Jalisco Jr., Villano 4, Apollo Dantes, Villano 3, Shocker, Mascara Año 2000, El Satanico, and Legends of Lucha Libre star Perro Aguayo Sr. This was an amazing match. I love Blue Panther, so I was kind of biased, but I loved it. I wish I'd had time to watch the whole show. I only had time for the main event, but stunning match. Go ahead, Brendan. Sorry.
I was going to say, you also have Satanico on there, so you can have like a classic Young Masters match. I don't know if those two ran into each other in this one, but
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it was such a good match, and Blue Panther is a submission style guy. Like he's everybody that I've heard, like even Daniel Bryan, people are like, they want to go to Mexico right now. When you ask them who they want to wrestle, they're like, Blue Panther. I'd like to wrestle Blue Panther. And so that's so many American guys want to wrestle him, and it's amazing to see him in his element like this. He was still masked. Very cool. I recommend it. What did you pick this week, Brendan?
So I made an accidental allusion to this. I forgot I actually chose this, but this week I chose October 27th, 2001, when El Zorro won the UWA World Heavyweight Championship for the first time. He beat Electroshock in a Lucha Libre AAA live show. I didn't get to see the whole match, was the weird thing. I found the match and it ended when Zorro has Electroshock in a small package. So I still to this day don't know how the match actually ended. It might have ended on that small package, but the ref hadn't even counted to 3 yet before it cut to the next video, which was very jarring because it was some anime video that I had.
Isn't that how it always goes?
But, so you're talking 2001 here. So you're talking about kind of a classic period for AAA. You had Zorro coming out with, I believe it was Lady Apache was his second. And you had, Electroshock still in his tiny little silly looking mask. and it looked like, it was either Psychosis or Psychosis 2 that was his second. Either way, I was just like having massive flashbacks to, cause this was when I was tape trading and AAA events were kind of gold. And Zorro, any combination of Zorro and Electroshock and tape trading, those tape trading days was money for me. You could give me, it's got Zorro on it and he's not doing anything except for giving flowers to ladies. I need 2 copies.
That's how I found out about Shocker, was tape trading.
Yeah.
1000% guapo.
So I was very excited to see this on the list. Zorro is, for those of you who are unaware, Zorro is exactly what you would think it is. He's a handsome man in a mask with a sword, and he kind of waffles at times between being a good guy and a bad guy. And this one, he was clearly the good guy. Like you could hear that special noise that you get when the really handsome man comes out, and all the ladies in the audience notice at the same time.
The Rick Rude effect.
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah. And they were all like excited every time he did well, and they were very unhappy anytime Electroshock was doing well. So you could really, there was a nice, tangible feel to this match, even though, I know who won, but I just don't know how he won it. And I didn't get to see the inevitable betrayal where Electroshock probably pretended to put the belt on him and then hit him over the head with something. But, so that's what I had. Miranda, what did you find this week?
Well, this should come to no surprise to anyone. Really to anyone. Because we've literally spent a good quarter of this show talking about this.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I'm going to keep on rolling with it.
I love it. It's our thing.
I mean, because it's one of the, I think it's,
yeah. It's the Halloween episode.
It's the Halloween episode. So I picked October 26, 1997, when Rey Mysterio won the WCW Cruiserweight Championship against Eddie Guerrero in a mask versus title match at WCW Halloween Havoc. And I just felt like it wouldn't be a complete week if we didn't talk about it. I mean, we alluded to it.
We need to, yeah.
NXT, I mean, this is the Lucha Libre match that I think really solidified Lucha Libre in the U.S. as far as that wide stream, just that.
Yeah.
I opened that day.
Yeah.
Definitely for a lot of people.
Yes. So, and again, I mean, already this was all, the tribute that Santos has is just the second tribute in like the past, 4 months that we had. Seth Rollins, even though it was more of a heelish tribute, to that match because it was with Eddie Guerrero, and we know the history between Eddie and Rey and Dominic. But still, the fact that match, that look, everything about it.
And Rey has worn a tribute mask a couple of times in the last year since his return to WWE. It's not the same, but it's definitely inspired by the Phantom mask from Halloween Havoc. Like, it's very nice. So, I mean, it's a seminal moment in both Lucha Libre and wrestling. Like, so cool. And the gear is also, like, it's indelible in your mirror. It's tied to the match. But, like, everybody remembers it. It's so cool. And the idea of dressing up for Halloween. Rey has always done amazing character work, dressing up as characters, but this was the beginning of that, and it's so cool to see that.
Yeah,
and knowing, too, that this was an apuestas match, a mask versus title, and that was almost like on purpose. Like, he knew he did not want to and was not going to lose that title, and that's why it was really that whole one-piece suit. Yes. With so many implications. And then when it was ripped, because Eddie at the time was trying to rip off masks, I mean, he really tried to rip that off, and you see part of Rey's face through that. Yeah. Just so much good work and amazing feats. When I was rewatching it, one of my favorite moments is right up on the top rope, and he jumps off as outside of the ring and lands on Eddie in the barricade. That 619 into the head scissor and going over the top rope. Like, there was just so many cool moments. But I just feel like anyone who grew up and watched wrestling in the 90s, that this is just a match that you visually see it. There's I think very few matches in wrestling in which there's like something that visual that you always like revert to exactly what match that is. And I feel like, especially what we were talking about right now, Ray's look in that match is one thing that you will always flash back to Halloween Havoc 97.
It always triggers. Yeah, always.
Yes.
And even
100%.
though it was a signature look for most of Eddie's career, when I see Eddie with that unhappy look on his face and the wet mess hanging in his eyes, I see him. That's what I see him at the end of that match, where he's just so incredulous that he lost. And that's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this also was a sign. So after this match, just more of a fun fact. So, WCW 2 was notorious for switching titles pretty quickly. Ray won the Cruiserweight Championship, on October 26th. He ends up losing the belt back to Eddie Guerrero on the November 10th edition of Nitro. And then they had a rematch at World War III in which Mysterio lost as well. So, his reign, as Cruiserweight champion in this iteration was very, very quick, just a few weeks. But ultimately the match itself is just synonymous with Lucha Libre, synonymous with Cruiserweight wrestling in the US, synonymous with WCW, synonymous with Halloween Havoc. I mean, so many checkpoints. So I think we couldn't, how could you go through this week and not talk about it?
Yes, yeah.
And I rewatched it, so I wanted to, for people who haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a while.
Yes.
I want to remind, it's one thing to remember that these guys, when they were in their prime, were super quick, and this match happened nonstop with nonstop kinetic action. And it's another thing to rewatch it and just realize that you're holding your breath for the whole thing. Yeah. So if you haven't watched this match in a while, or you've never watched this match, go on Lucha Central and watch it. They've got the whole thing there, and
they do.
Really high quality, so enjoy the heck out of it.
It is. And I think more than any other match, when you say Halloween Havoc, this is the match people remember from Halloween Havoc.
I couldn't tell you a single other match that happened at Halloween Havoc.
No, I mean, we tease
I know one, but
96 with, the Yeti. I mean, the times when you remember Halloween Havoc, it's never a good thing either.
Well, that's what I remember. The other one was Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior, and that was awful.
Yeah,
it's nice to have a good memory of Halloween Havoc.
Good memory. It's only good memory of Halloween Havoc up until 24 hours ago.
Yes. Yeah.
A new chapter has been written, and it was amazing.
And I feel like everybody kind of wanted to snatch that moment in NXT, and they wanted to be that match on, Halloween Havoc this year, and they all did admirably.
Yeah, they did. Great. Brendan, you mentioned luchacentral.com if people wanted to watch this match. Can you let our listeners know more about luchacentral.com?
I sure can. If you're listening to this and you haven't visited luchacentral.com, it's really time to do it, because we're not going to stop bugging you till you do. Luchacentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. Place to have your voices heard, from weekly polls to annual awards seen and read by top executives in all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And on top of all of this, it's free. LuchaCentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre.
And Brendan, while you're at it, why don't you give us a little bit of that ROH Pure Tournament update that you're...
Yeah!
Oh, man. So the finals are set. We now know who's going to be wrestling for the return of the Pure title. This was set up this week with two matches. You had Jonathan Gresham against Josh Woods. You had Jay Lethal against Tracy Hot Sauce Williams. we started off with Gresham's Josh Woods match. It was a nice, slow, deliberate pace for fans of the amateur wrestling and grappling style. The early match had a lot of stuff in there that would go with that, because you had Josh Woods with his collegiate background that jumped right into his MMA in there against Gresham, who was trying to match him hold for hold in that respect. Ultimately, Gresham came out on top. It was really kind of the story of Gresham just had more tools and tricks in the bag than the younger Josh Woods had. So they really set a nice story forward that Josh Woods is going to be a major threat in this kind of environment moving forward as he gets more experience under his belt and he wrestles more guys like Gresham and Lethal and Williams that can, the more times they have to dig deep into their bag of tricks, the more he's going to learn, and he's going to be the next guy that's at that level. But then you had Lethal and Williams, and I was 50-50 on which way this was going to go, because, I mean, how do you not have Jay Lethal in the title picture there? He is kind of a cornerstone of ROH, but at the same time, he's not a major grappler in the same degree that Tracy Williams is. The way they've been setting up this tournament, they've really been wanting to have pure grapplers in there, and a final of Gresham and Williams seemed more likely. So I was kind of mixed, which was great. By not knowing how it was going to happen, I got sucked up into the action more. And the story here was similar to what they've been doing with Hot Sauce's other matches. Both people used their rope breaks, all three of their rope breaks, and that made all of the difference once again. The action kept going. Pinfalls were once we hit 3 pinfalls, had to be escaped with more gusto and more action, and eventually Williams hit a submission hold on Lethal while his foot was under the ropes, and the referee wouldn't break the hold, and he had to tap instead. If I'm remembering, I believe it was. It might have been a pinfall. I got too excited and I didn't write it down.
I remember a tap too, so I think you're right.
I don't want anybody getting angry with me. I totally watched this, but I was sucked up in the action, so I remember a tap, but I might be I always willing to believe I might be confusing it with that awesome tap that happened the week before with that dragon sleeper in the ropes.
I love a sleeper hold, and I wish we'd see more of that. So I was really excited to see, especially a dragon sleeper in Ring of Honor. Yeah. Very cool. Ultimo Dragon invented that, and I love to see it.
I kind of figured that was right up your street there.
100%.
So our finals are going to be Jonathan Gresham, the Octopus, against Tracy Hot Sauce Williams, which is a match, actually, I got to see a variation of live. They were on opposite sides of a tag team up here, and it was fantastic. Like, if I get a quarter of the action I got out of that, this is going to be a fantastic match and a can't miss final. So look forward to hearing about that. Again, I will point out that they are doing this is a watch party on Mondays. It starts at 4 Pacific. The show goes up for free on the ROH website, and they have the hashtag ROH Pure. So if you are home and able to watch it live, that is the best way to encourage this kind of wrestling is by filling up the live watch and setting the Twitter or whatever social media on fire by talking about how great it is. And this final, I guarantee, is going to be the one. So this Monday, if you're listening to this the week that this launched, this Monday will be the finals. Find your way to the internets and or the television and watch it with everybody.
Thank you, Brendan. Next, we have an update from Impact Wrestling. This past Saturday, October 24th, was Bound for Glory, one of, if not their biggest show of the year. Again, usually we just cover the Lucha Libre content, but I'm going to give you a little bit more insight into the card because there was some pretty big surprises. This was a card where most of my predictions failed miserably. Some people may say that is a good thing or a bad thing, but you know what? It still was pretty entertaining. Ken Shamrock was inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame this year, getting some shout outs from Bret Hart, Mick Foley, and an appearance by one Mr. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So that was pretty cool to see. But as far as the actual card, something that was interesting that happened that I think was interesting, that the X Division Championship 6-way scramble started the show. I did not expect that. I thought we were going to have that gauntlet start. But this match was exactly what you thought it was going to be, with lots of movement happening all over the place. And Rohit Raju picking his spots, and that method worked because he retained, and he's still your X Division champion. He defeated Willie Mack, TJP, Chris Bay, Trey Miguel, and Jordan Grace. It still seems like we're still having some movement though in the X Division. I believe this coming week on TV, we are going to be getting, Trey Miguel versus Chris Bay. So, I mean, again, the X Division is it's just fantastic. This whole title defense methodology by Rohit Raju is getting, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny, but it's only going to last for so long. So, again, a really entertaining and fun match. But, again, that strategery worked out for Rohit Raju. The Call Your Shot 20 wrestler gauntlet battle royale. So it started off as a battle royale, and then the final two competitors, it converts into a match. Of course, this was one where Taya Valkyrie was announced for it already, but then we already had other people too, Rhino and Heath, Crazy Steve, Larry D, Tennille Dashwood, Brian Myers, but we had some surprises in there as well. Swoggle made his return to Impact Wrestling, formerly the man known as Hornswoggle. We also had an appearance by Sean Davari, I believe. Is he on this list? Why is he not on this list? Yes, the Sean Davari. I was like, why is he not on this? He is. Also made an appearance. My eyes didn't fool me. And a big surprise, James Storm returned in this match as well. But ultimately, Rhino won, pinning Sami Callihan. A stipulation of this match for Rhino was that if either him or Heath wins, Heath gets a contract. If they lost, Heath must leave Impact and Rhino would be fired. So, Rhino is now your Call Your Shot gauntlet winner. This past week on Impact Wrestling, he announced that he's going to use his title opportunity to go after the tag team titles, with his partner Heath. So that's going to be coming down the road. But Heath was teasing he may be injured, and he's kind of playing it off cool, but we will see. So that definitely, very much a gimmicky match, but, gets the job done. We had an undisclosed location match between Moose and EC3. This was, to me, one of the bigger surprises of the night, where Moose defeated EC3 after all of the beautiful promo work that EC3, right?
Wow.
Right? Look, I don't have enough time. We literally do not have enough time. But,
keep going.
But so many things run through my mind as to, yes, Moose defeated EC3. EC3 got distracted by his own memories of his time in TNA / Impact. So that was a weird thing that happened. The cinematography was pretty good for what it was, but to me, I agree. It made no sense for Moose to win this match. We don't know when we're going to see EC3 again. I mean, he did pop up in Ring of Honor. And so at one point we thought maybe he's going to be on both shows, but as of right now, of this past week on Impact, he was not on the show. However, we did get a very interesting development with Moose Moose was backstage with, I'll say for a particular group of wrestlers. He ended up having a little bit of a confrontation with Willie Mack, where Willie Mack wanted to have a match with Moose for his TNA Heavyweight Championship. And Moose said, nah, I make the rules, I decide. Later on in that night, I get people confused. Willie Mack was taking a picture outside with a fan when Moose attacked him out of nowhere. So it does seem like we are going to be getting a program between Moose and Willie Mack. Now that I'm not mad at. However, all of this build-up feeling like for nothing. Anyways, Ken Shamrock defeated Eddie Edwards. We had the 4-way tag match for the Impact Tag Team Championships. The North, Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, defeated the Motor City Machine Guns, the Good Brothers, and Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. So the North have reclaimed the Impact Tag titles. This had a lot to do with Alex Shelley being pile-drived by Josh Alexander towards the beginning of the match, Alex Shelley being out for quite some time. But some would say that the Impact Tag Team division is in its rightful place with the North being champions again. We had, I think the Motor City Machine Guns did a great job as champions, but, for many of us, the only world we know is the world of the North being champions. So, great match overall.
I love the North.
The Impact Knockouts Championship was on the line. This caused a lot of buzz on the internet as to what was happening. Speculation, I'm going to call it. The match was originally slated for Deonna Purrazzo versus Kylie Rae. However, Kylie Rae was not in attendance, so Deonna Purrazzo put out an open challenge. And who came out? None other than Su Yung. The first time we'd seen her in quite some time. She defeated Deonna Purrazzo to become the new Knockouts champion. And we're going to have a rematch next week on Impact. Su Yung back in full force. The Undead Bride. Love it. One of my favorite characters.
I love Su Yung. And so cool.
And
I assumed that she was coming back for the tag teams.
Yeah, well, we don't know yet. I mean, I would imagine Susie would have been. Susie and Ray would have been a tag team, but and they've been setting that up for quite some time. Before we get into that, the Impact World Championship changed hands. Eric Young was defeated by Rich Swann. So Rich Swann is now your new Impact World Champion. They had already a quick rematch this week on Impact Weekly on Access TV, and Rich Swann defeated Eric Young again. So that's a big change. Eric Young, I think, did a great job as Impact World Champion, but nevertheless, Rich Swann is your new champion. As Dusty alluded to, big news that also came out of Bound for Glory is that the Knockouts tag team titles are coming back. They've teased this for months and months. So it's official. They're going to be doing a 8-man or 8-team tournament. And it's going to lead to the finals at Hard to Kill, January 2021. So before WWE made it cool, before AEW had a tournament, Impact Wrestling had the Knockouts tag team titles. So we will be reporting more on that as it gets along. But big events coming out of Impact Wrestling this past week, and we will continue to update. Just also a quick fact, this past week on Impact Wrestling was the wedding between Johnny Bravo and Rosemary. Taya was a vision in red. Y'all should just watch it for Taya. She looked stunning. As always, the fashionista of Impact Wrestling and all of pro wrestling. Kudos to Taya Valkyrie for continuing to kill it.
I have my, you all been hurting me with the fantasy booking here, so I have one for you. A Impact world where Susie is a tag team champion and Su Yung is the women's champion.
I am down for that.
Stop it.
Yeah, like I am in for that.
Stop it. Oh, man.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have plenty of time to talk over the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament and who we would love to see in that. But for our final news story of the day, I mean, this ended up being way bigger news than we thought. But Brendan,
bigger.
you're going to be walking us through this week's United Wrestling Network's Primetime Live.
Absolutely. So, we have been covering Primetime Live. We've been making a good habit of covering several of our friends as well as other things to what we were just alluding to. We were thinking this would be a neat little thing to talk about. Our friends, the Bodega, Danny Limelight, and Papa Esco were on the show, and we were like, they got a big win. I was all excited and congratulations. And then my mind was blown because Thunder Rosa was defending against Serena Deeb, and I knew this was going to be a good match, but the internet was set on fire by this match because in addition to it being a great match, Serena came out on top with this. So she walked away the new NWA Women's Champion, got on a plane, flew back to Florida, and defended the title again the next night on AEW. So, which led into all of this, all this other stuff, all this, the speculation.
So much speculation.
Yeah. It fed into the
left, right.
Yep.
Down.
All the speculation about Rosa going to WWE seems stronger because now she doesn't have the NWA title anymore. And even after Billy Corgan said that she's under contract through 2021, other people have been let go of their NWA contracts during this time of COVID because they can't work. So it's entirely possible that if the right offer came through, Billy Corgan might let her go because he doesn't want to stop her from doing that. So
there's not much product right now, and so maybe she would get enough of a bonus that she would be able to buy herself out, or maybe as if you don't use me within so much time, I can leave. There's all kinds of interesting clauses that can be written into contracts.
And because they rightfully are not sharing contract details, we have no idea.
Right.
So, that just it continues to fuel the speculation. I personally think, up until the Riot and Satin story hit, I was just thinking they're setting up a third match, which is going to be on an AEW pay-per-view. I was ready for them to announce the rematch at Full Gear. So, who knows? Who knows where this is going to go? And that's what's really exciting. For the first time in a long time, we have no idea what's going on in the world of wrestling. And all the inside information has not helped us in any way. It's only made it better, or made it worse, which makes it better. And that's why Rosa is having such a fun time teasing us on social media.
And she is so good at social media in the memes and the way she's played it out. There was an amazing Simpsons meme, him peeping through the blinds, and it was tagged AEW. You know what I mean? So, she is doing everything she can to stoke those flames and keep people interested and keep eyes on her socials. So it's exciting to see how this will play out.
So the only major insight I have that makes me a little less confident that the WW thing is absolutely going to happen is she's also still one of the major promoters for Mission Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, which is her baby. And I am positive that if the right offer came through, she would have people that she trusts to put in place for that. But it has to be a really good offer. So, if we see that she really legitimately, we see an announcement on WWE that says she's going to WWE, hopefully that means we can expect big things, because she's not going to just take any old offer. She's going to take the best offer because of that kind of positioning.
Well, everyone, you're just going to have to wait and see, as are we. as to what's going to be happening with Thunder Rosa.
I don't like waiting.
I know. Patience is a virtue. I don't have much of it, but, make sure you stay tuned to the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast every week, where we drop all of the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre, and we preview the week ahead. And with that, well, we're at the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to visit luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. You can also follow Lucha Central on social media at Lucha Central on Facebook and Instagram, and at Lucha Central.com on Twitter. Don't forget, though, you can also check out the YouTube page, where you can watch matches and interviews and lots of great fun content all through Lucha Central. And well, while you're at it, why don't you go and follow us a little bit on social media? Dusty, can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
Yeah, I am on Facebook at facebook.com/Dusty Murphy, and I am on Instagram at Dusty Murphy, all one word.
And Brendan, where can our listeners find you?
I am 321 T-shirt guy, and that is 3 to the numbers 321, and then T-shirt guy is all spelled out, and that's on Instagram, sort of. It's on Facebook, and it's on Twitter. I say this all the time. I'm absolutely accessible on Twitter. I will respond there the fastest. But as I also mentioned previously, I will, if you send me that invitation to an indie match or to witness your indie event, I will log into the Instagram against my better judgment and watch your match. So, don't feel like you have to Twitter. I will watch I will come to wherever you're at.
And me, Miranda Morales, well, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at the #Miranda, hashtag spelled out, and feel free to follow us. You can, ask us questions, let us know what you think of the show.
Yeah.
We love to hear from our listeners. And
we love
speaking
feedback.
Yes, feedback is important. And if you want to provide feedback, well, if you are listening to this through one of your favorite podcast streaming platforms like Google, iTunes, Podbay, Speaker, Spotify, well, you can review, rate, or subscribe, review, rate, all of that stuff. So you can subscribe and make sure that you are getting notified every time this show drops. You'll get notification right away. You can also leave us a 5-star review, and you can rate us at 5 stars, and then leave us a written review of what you think of the show. You can give us recommendations on topics you think we should cover in the future, and ultimately your thoughts on what's happening in the world of Lucha Libre. So you got something?
Well, we're still, I want to mention again, we're on the Lucha Central YouTube channel. We do have one video of our faces, and all of our episodes are also uploaded onto the YouTube channel. So like and review there as well, too.
And we hope to be adding more video content soon, so keep an eye out for that as well.
Indeed.
Yeah. We have some things in the works. So thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode. For Brendan Barr and for Dusty Murphy, I'm Miranda Morales. Thank you all so much, and tune in next week. How do I stop this? Hold on.
I don't know. So yeah, we definitely need to put Thunder Rosa in the header.
Yeah. And Halloween Havoc.
I mean, I guess we could. We only spent like 20 minutes.
Stop recording. How do I stop?
Oh, we're still recording.
Well, it won't let me stop it. That's fine.
I keep clicking stop, but it doesn't do anything on my end. It just says Miranda is recording the call.
Well, I keep pressing stop.
Respetable público.